Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Custom Carving and Epoxy UK. So you've seen I've done a lot of jewellery recently, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I've been scouring YouTube looking for ideas on what I could try, something hopefully a little bit different, and I came across a channel called Pouring Your Heart Out, where I think she does an awful lot of these 3D blooms, and I thought it'd be really interesting to try those in a coaster, but add a little twist to it, as I always try and do. So I'm going to be putting in the white that I'm going to be mixing with the 3D blooms, hopefully, a little bit of iridescent powder, nail powder, and also some chameleon powder to just see if that has an effect. Let's see first of all if we can get the blooms right, but that's what this video is about, so let's get straight to it. So here we are guys, back in the workshop. As you can see, these are the 4 moulds that I'm going to be using for the coasters. If you're new to the channel, firstly, thanks for being here. Secondly, by all means, like and subscribe to the channel. We're about everything epoxy, UV resin, and carving related. Now, this is a digital thermometer that I got specifically for this project because from the videos I've seen, you want your resin to be at a certain temperature, which I believe is about 30 degrees centigrade before you start the pouring process. This is an ocean white pigment that I got from Temu that I'm going to be testing for the white on the petals. And this is a chameleon powder. It's actually olive from Let's Resin, but it comes out more white. So I wanted to test that in the white of the petals. And this is the iridescent blue nail powder. Again, I just got that from Temu, which I've used in a few projects so far. I'm pretty happy with. Then we're going to be using the Let's Resin inks. I thought I'd go with 2 different shades of blue, so sapphire blue and cerulean to complement the nail powders. And then I thought I'd try a yellow and an orange centre to see if that would create almost that centre that you'd naturally get in a flower, but we'll see if it works. These are just some pieces that I did from spare resin. Again, that's just mica powder, and I think it gives a really cool effect. And if you're new to the channel as well, let us know in comments whether you like the music in the background or not. Some people have said yes, some have said no, but we'll change it depending on what you want. Now, first thing I'm going to do is just get prepared for when the resin is mixed. I'm not going to show you the mixing of the resin because I've shown you that on plenty of videos now, but it is currently in the bubble removal machine that I've got from Resiners. Again, if you want one of those, there's a discount code in the description, which is ccukresin. I have found them to be really useful at getting rid of bubbles. So what I'm putting in these pots is just a scoopful of the chameleon powder and a scoopful of the nail powder. And then I'm hoping that that's going to create some sort of effect in the petals when we're finished. Also, I just want to say to everyone as well, thank you so much for subscribing. We've just gone over 6,400, which is amazing. And if you haven't, it's free to do so. Just click in the bottom right-hand corner and click subscribe. It helps the channel so much. Again, so does liking, so does comments. So just put something in there, whether you've liked it or whether you haven't, or whether you've learned anything. And again, apologies that you've got a voiceover at the minute. My neighbours seem to be chopping down trees every day and my workshop is outdoors, so it makes sense to do that. Again, with the orange and the yellow, I'm not sure if it's going to work. I just thought it'd be great to have sort of that centre, and then go with the cerulean and the sapphire blue because I wanted blues to complement the colour of the nail powder. And here that some of the chameleon powder seems to have gone into the moulds, so just giving it a wipe with a baby wipe. All I use is a baby wipe and a little bit of alcohol, and it gets it straight off that mould, because I did not want it resting on the surface of the coaster. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out our last video. which is making that giant UV resin butterfly. I've currently got it in front of my window and it's amazing. It looks like stained glass. And again, all it took was a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and a bottle of UV resin. Spray the moulds with this silicone release spray. Keeps your moulds lasting longer and also keeps your pieces shinier. So for the sake of a few squirts, it's well worth doing because moulds aren't cheap. Again, I've put a link in the description to those for the States and the UK. The one in the States was a slightly different brand. It's the only similar product I could find out there, interestingly. And now the resin's done. First thing I'm going to do is just let that sit, and then we're going to mix up everything ready to actually pour. Tested the temperature at this point, and it's quite cold in the UK. The resin, unfortunately, wasn't up to temperature yet. It was only at 20 degrees. So I know some resins, they say wait sort of 20 minutes, but I want it to be more accurate, and that's why I'm using the thermometer to make sure we get it to around about 30 degrees before we start pouring. About 20 minutes. I was only at 25.7 degrees, so I thought I'd leave it a little bit longer to try and get it close to that 30. Again, this is something that's so important, I think, with the bloom effect to actually work. After 30 minutes, came back, tested it, and it was still only at 26.8. So it just goes to show 20 minutes is not accurate with all resins and all temperatures. So make sure you test that resin to make sure it's ready. If you know a more comfortable respirator than the one that I've currently got on, let me know. They're so annoying, but I always wear it when I'm doing the projects. As you can see, I've got a tiny little outbuilding workshop. So if you know of any better respirators that are more comfortable to wear, especially if you wear glasses, let me know. So after about 30, I think it was 38 minutes, we were pretty much there, 29.4 degrees Celsius, which is pretty close for me. And I was happy to sort of progress at this point. So first thing I'm going to do is, and just look at that resin, it is crystal clear. But the first thing I'm going to do is mix up the whites. Again, there's no specific measurement I'm going for. I am just guessing at this point that I'm probably going to need 2 of these little cups. And then I'm going to mix some of this up in this glitter for the center as well. And then going to try and pour the rest out reasonably evenly in the other 4. Let me know in comments as well about what you think about glitter in epoxy projects. I know some people love it, but for me, it almost cheapens it a little bit. It makes it look a little bit tacky. In my mind, but again, interested to know what the rest of the community thinks. I think it's great in little projects like little UV earrings, things like that, but in projects like this where you're going for that detail and more of a design look, I just think it makes it look a little bit cheaper. So again, let me know what you think in comments. I'd be interested to know what everybody else thinks. That's just using a long nose lighter to torch off any of the surface bubbles, which you will always have a few. So just make sure you do that. Don't use a torch on these silicone molds. Your epoxy could bond to the mold and completely ruin the piece, but also ruin your mold. And molds are expensive, so you don't want that. Just going to start off by mixing this glitter, which I'm aiming to put in the center, just to give it a bit of a different effect to the petals. As I say, unsure how any of this is going to work out, as it's my first attempt. But again, that's what this is all about. It's about experimenting and learning together about what works and what doesn't. So just putting a blob of this glitter and resin mixture as close to the center as I can get in each of these coasters. Had a little bit spare. This is why you always keep spare molds when you're doing a project, because you know what, it's better than wasting it. Put it into something and see what you can create. So just pouring the rest of this glitter into this pendant mold, And we'll also find later on in the video that I get a lot of this white spear, which I do the same with. But always have spear moulds next to you to use up that excess resin. Just going to press down the glitter and epoxy mixture so that it doesn't interfere with the alcohol inks on the surface. I just wanted to make sure that it was completely under that top surface where we're going to be putting the alcohol inks. Now, hopefully the fun part, dropping the ink. So first one I'm going to do is this yellow, and I'm just going to put a drop in the center on top of that glitter to see if we can almost get that center of a flower, if these blooms do work out. And just one drop in each, and then I'm going to go on top of that with an orange as well, just to try and create a bit of difference between the two colors. Again, it's the Let's Resin inks I'm using just because I found, for me, they are the best on the market. And I'm just going for one drop in each in the center. So essentially we've had 2 drops for the center, and then I'm going to go round the edge to create the petals. First one I'm going to go with is the cerulean, and it's a really, really nice, almost turquoisey blue colour. I've really liked this in other projects that I've used. And I'm going to try and do it in a way to get an even spread of the 2 different shades of blue that I'm going to use. So hopefully when the petals come through, you'll see 2 different shades in those petals. Again, you don't have to do this, you can just use one colour if you want. So I'm just putting 3 dots of these in sort of a triangular formation so that I can do 3 dots of the other blue between. If you can see that colour, it is absolutely gorgeous. Not quite turquoise, not quite that green, but not a very dark blue either. It's quite a light blue. And then I thought it'd be fun to go in with a darker blue, so I went for the sapphire blue. And then I'm going to put that where the gaps are. At this point, decided to add another drop of each colour, just because for me there was a little bit too much negative space. A bit more differentiation in the colours and a bit more, I suppose, definition in those petals. It would be fun to give them a bit of a swirl and get them going through each other. So I'm just swirling them around, not swirling the centre or anything at the minute, just to sort of mix them so that hopefully when the petals are done, you get a bit of each blue in each petal. And now decided it was time to mix up white. So just mixing the mica and iridescent powder in there first with the resin. And you will find there's quite a bit of air in there because when you put mica in, it seems to collect a little bit of air. So at the minute, that's just that. And then I'm going to add, I went with 4 drops in the end of this ocean white pigment to try and create an almost opaque, but not quite colour. So you still want a tiny bit of transparency, I believe. And that's what I was going for. So literally just 4 drops of this in almost a full small cup to try and get that white colour. And it doesn't take a lot, so don't add a lot. You're better off adding 1 or 2, and then if you don't think it's the right colour, add a little bit more. But I was really happy with the colour after 4 drops. And if you're still with us, guys, make sure you remember, like and subscribe to the channel. It takes you 2 seconds and it helps support us. So now I'm going to go in with pour. I've seen this done with piping bags. I don't have any, so I'm just going to go with what I've got, give it another quick stir, and then pour it round in a circular fashion. And just to show you how much the resin actually cools down when you pour it, it's gone from sort of 30 degrees all the way down to 20 degrees already. I didn't want too much white in the petals, so just decided to add a couple more drops of each of the colours, just to really cover some of that negative space. I just wanted to get rid of any of these little surface bubbles that had come up. I saw a couple on the bottom, so I'm just teasing them up with this dabber, and then I'm literally just tapping them on the surface until they go, basically. You don't want to use your torch or a flame at this point if you've recently put alcohol inks on, because they are very, very flammable. And here goes. It's my first time doing this as well, so don't judge me. I'm just going to pour it, hopefully get a gentle pour, and then go round in a circular motion, hopefully without blobbing or making too much mess. And I think with a piping bag, the difference would be is you've probably got more control and you could probably get more layers. Therefore, hopefully more petals when it's done. But in the end result, I was quite happy with what I'd done here. Now, to actually put the petals in. And I started off by just going, putting a petal in at 12, 6, 3 and 9 o'clock, as you can see here. Not going all the way into the centre, but going pretty close. And as you can see, that's what creates those petal shapes. And then once that's done, I'm just going to split them again, straight down the middle to create more petals. And I thought this one on the left, for some reason, looked slightly larger. So I actually created 2 more petals from that rather than just the one. And then repeated the same for the other 3. Done, just putting a little tiny swirl in the center. Again, I didn't want too much of a swirl, but I just wanted it to sort of take the edge off those petals to make them look a little bit more natural. As you can see, just swirling it in the center, and what you'll see is those petal sort of tips just starting to form sort of a circular shape, and that's what I wanted. And now I just decided I wanted to add some points to these petals to make them look more petal-like. So all I'm going to do here is just literally start from the center and draw it straight down the middle. It doesn't matter if it overlaps the mold a little bit, just to give it that little point. And I think for me, it gives it a more natural petal effect. And just repeating the process for each petal, hopefully in a similar sort of direction to what it naturally looks like it's going in. And as you can see, it already, I think, looks more natural, like a flower. And then it's just a case of repeating the process for the other 3. And then I realised how much extra white I actually had, so I thought I'd just use it up in a couple of these spare moulds. So this one's just a jewellery pendant mould that I've got, and I thought that that would give me a good basic sort of white chameleon powdery pendant. and then still had a load left, so managed to get this little seahorse mould, and I've got a future project coming up for this mould which hopefully will look really good. So at this point decided that I didn't want these white, so I thought I would add a little bit of a different colour of chameleon powder to that white to give them more of a coloured finish. See, but these tiny seahorses are absolutely minute and probably take about 2 drops, maybe 3 of resin. They don't take a lot at all. So the most difficult part I found with this was actually getting the resin into these tiny seahorses. But hopefully they come out with a cool effect at the end, and it's worth it. And also by this point, the resin was starting to get a lot thicker. As you can see, literally a tiny little blob fills that whole seahorse, and you've got to make sure you get it in that tail and in the nose, otherwise it won't look right as a seahorse. So literally tiny amount, but I've got a really cool idea for these in another project coming up, which I'm going to hopefully do an underwater scene with seahorses, fish, corals, the works. It's just a case of waiting 24 hours to see what these look like. Really excited for these because I could already see those petals forming in the bloom, and hopefully that means that they bloomed on the underside, but we won't know until the demold. And again, if you're still with us, make sure you like, subscribe, put something in comments. It's free for you and it helps the channel. Basically, the more interaction we get, the more YouTube will send this video out so that other people get to see it, and hopefully it helps us grow as a channel. We've also got our shop launch now as well on Etsy. The link is just above, so if you want to check anything out, feel free to have a look, and we'll come straight back for the demold. And here we go, guys, time for the demold, and I'm excited for this one because looking at the backs, we've got a great pattern. I'm just hoping that they have bloomed and we get those petal effects on the front. But I did cheat a little bit, and I already demolded the seahorses that we did with the spear resin that we had. And actually, they have come out really well. The detail on them, I'm really happy with those. This is one of the small ones. And this is one of the bigger ones. Really cool little mold, and I love the detail on it. So I've already got lots of ideas for projects to do with these. Obviously probably coral related or something like that with the seahorses in, but great little mold, very detailed, and that's why you always keep some spare molds by the side of you when you do these projects, just to see what comes out with little projects like this which don't take a lot of resin. So really happy with that. And before we demold the rest of the piece, I just wanted to say to everyone as well, thank you for supporting the channel. We've gone over 6,400. Target for this month is to try and get over 10,000 if we can. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. It makes a big difference. So just push that button there. It's completely free to do. And the bigger the channel grows, the more of these experiments we can do. So I'm going to demold these other spare bits that we did first of all, just to see. I'm expecting these to be pretty plain and white, which they are. But what I'm thinking with these, just to make them a little bit interesting, and again, it was just spare resin, is I've seen a lot of mandala art around, specifically the dot art, and I think that that would look really cool on some of these pieces. So I might have a go at that with some UV resin and see what effects we get. But again, it's just a case of not wasting the resin, you know, and seeing how we can utilize it. I do still get the odd little bubble in the front, but again, that's another reason why I was thinking of the mandala art, because you can actually cover those little bubbles you can see just there in the surface with the dots in the mandala art. So really, really cool. And I still love the way that the chameleon powder still comes through, almost opal-like, to be fair, in the right light. And then this is the one that we did with the rest of the glitter, and just a bit of the white in the back as a bit of an experiment. And again, if you like glitter, it's probably great. I'm not a massive fan, and that's my concern with the coasters as well, to be honest with you, is by putting that glitter in the center, have I ruined the effect or not? That is the question. So gonna start with these, and I think looking at the backs, this one's probably the one that's most off center, but I absolutely love the effect on the back, and you can just see the nail powder coming through on those petals already. And the question's going to be, when we take this out, has it bloomed on the front? And if so, what does it look like? So let's get straight to it. Again, only used about 6 ounces of resin for the 4, so that's pretty good. And I've got a decent thickness on those for coasters. But the question is, did we get the effect we were going for or not? Are you ready? Wow. I'm actually quite impressed with that for a first attempt. If you look, especially on ones like that petal there, we've got the effect, and where I mixed the 2 different alcohol inks, it's come through with different shades of blue. So yeah, again, the glitter I'm not a massive fan of. I actually think it makes them look a little bit cheap. I don't know. Let me know in comments what you think. But actually the petals there I absolutely love, and I love the fact that we've just got a few that are the plain white with the iridescent nail powder coming through. Really happy with that for a first go, and to be fair, I was a bit worried. I didn't think these were going to come out with it being a first time, so yeah, really happy with that one. Let's hope they've all worked. Wow. And that one, that's sort of the center bit that's come off a little bit, but still stunning. For a first attempt, I'm really happy with these. And it shows that the bloom effect works, you know? Now, whether I back them or not, I actually think these would look better if I don't back them and just keep them plain. It's almost like glass that way. And look at some of those details. I mean, this is an amazing effect. And for a first attempt, I am going to do this again, I think, without the glitter. I'm not a huge fan. I just thought it'd be a bit of a different technique. Wow. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. And we've probably got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 little petals coming through in each of those. But I absolutely love those. That design has really worked. And the bloom effect on it. I just wish I hadn't put the glitter in now, but who knows? Some people might like the glitter look. And then the final one. And that is my favourite. Look at that. Wow. Absolutely stunning. So it does show that you can add chameleon powder and the iridescent powder to your white, and it gives it just that sparkly effect. And I love the 2 different blues coming through in different petals. Absolutely stunning. So let me know what you think in comments. There's going to be a lot more of these types of projects, especially now I know that I can do blooms with different colours and different ideas. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for all the support that we've had so far, and I'll see you on the next one.